This presentation will talk about creating and running a Hello World project in the Android Studio. It will include the creation of an Android virtual device. You should start your Android Studio. In a Windows system, you can do that by going down to the search and starting to type Android Studio and then clicking on the Android Studio icon that appears. In my case, I was running this instance of Android Studio for the first time, so there was some housekeeping to be done. Also, I had no other instances of Android Studio on my machine, so I chose Do Not Import Settings and clicked OK. A dialog popped up about sharing data with Google, and I chose to share data with Google. I reached the Welcome screen and clicked Next. In the Setup Wizard dialog, I chose the standard install type and clicked Next. Why might you choose custom? If you were always going to use a real Android device to run your applications, then you might save some space by choosing the custom and choosing not to install all of the software related to creating a virtual device. Similarly, you might skip the HAXM, the hardware acceleration, if you know that that's going to be an issue on your machine. The next dialog has you select a UI theme. Here I am choosing the light UI theme. The next dialog has you verify your settings, so you can scroll through your settings. If you want to change anything, you can go through previous. I'm going to take all of these settings, so I'm just going to click on Finish. This is a time when you are going to download some things and install some things, so you should be, one, connected to the internet, and two, realize that it can take a while. In this next dialog, we can scroll through and see what was downloaded and installed, where it was installed, and so forth. Sometimes you'll see some failures here. This one was pretty successful. Now you're ready to click Finish. Many of the steps you only do the very first time you use a particular instance of Android Studio. But this step here, to create a new project, is something we will do again and again. Here I kept to the simplest default options. I chose phone and tablet. I chose empty activity. I clicked on the next button. In this new project dialog, I changed the name to Hello World. That automatically changed something in the package name. I could further change the package name, but I did not. Also, changing a hello name changed something in the save location. Which again I could further change, but I did not. The language that we're going to work in is Kotlin. Another possibility is Java, but we will work in Kotlin. That's the default language of Android these days. And the final option there is the minimum SDK. This will determine how backward compatible your application is going to be. If you're using a newer feature, you may not go back quite as far. You might need a higher minimum SDK. A project has a thing known as a Gradle, and that has to be synced. And so here I am waiting for that project I just started. I'm waiting for its Gradle to be synced. The next several steps, we're going to be creating an Android virtual device, an AVD, and to do that we're going to go to Tools on the menu and then choose AVD Manager. This is again one of those sort of one-off things that you do when you are starting, and again you can avoid the whole AVD thing if you want to use a real Android device and run your apps on a real Android device. So I reach this dialog for my virtual devices. I do not have any virtual devices because this is the first time using this instance of Android Studio, so I must choose the button Create Virtual Device. Click on that. I'm going to accept the default options, so the category is phone, the name is Pixel 2 with a size of 5, and then I click the next button at the bottom. Next, I'm going to choose a system image. I'm going to accept the default R release API level 30, and then I'm going to click on that download hyperlink. That 30 is going to come back later, so at some point we'll be changing a 31 to a 30. So here is the 30 that we end up choosing. So we're going to download and install a virtual device. So we need to accept its license agreement and click Next. We are downloading and installing something, so it's going to take a while. We should have an internet connection. We will be able to watch the progress of the installation, and then when it is done, we will have the option to click the Finish button. We return to the System Image dialog, but now we see that there's no longer a download next to R because we performed that step, and the Next button is now available to us, and we click on it. We can name our AVD. I just accepted the default name that was supplied and then clicked Finish. We return to the dialog with our virtual devices. I only have one at this time, so I have the option of choosing one of my devices, I only have the one, or clicking at the bottom, create a virtual device, and making another. So I'm going to accept the one and only virtual device I have, and then close the dialog. I will now attempt to run my app, my Hello World app, by clicking on the green arrow. It's going to fail, and then we're going to see that it fails and then fix the problem and get it to run. The pane on the lower right shows a message, an error message that says revision 31 is corrupted. So we are going to go to our Gradle, that thing that we were previously waiting for it to be synced, and we are going to change the 31s to 30, resync it, and then we will be able to run our app. In Android Studio, we are now going to go to the project area or project pane. We're going to click on the arrow where it says Gradle scripts to expand that area. We see that there are two build.gradle. One says project, one says module. We want the one that says module. We're going to double click on that. That file then will open for us to the right. There were three settings that were 31s that we're going to change to 30s. So the compile SDK version, the build tools version, and the target SDK version. We changed all those 31s to 30s. And then up above, we see that there's now that light blue sync now. So we must click on that to resync the Gradle. Once the Gradle has been synced, then the green arrow becomes available and we can run our app. So we see on the left our successful Hello World Android virtual device running. Now, as we get to more complicated applications in the future, we will see that many times we can leave the virtual device open, change our code, and then rerun it, and it will just sort of move over to the virtual device and we will be able to see the changes. We will occasionally, though, have to close the virtual device, but always try to do it without closing the virtual device first. And in some rare cases that I've seen, you may have to go and find the app on the virtual device and actually delete it. So previously I said it was a success, but I'm going to now call it a qualified success, in that the Hello World program ran, but some messages popped up saying that I might be able to achieve better performance. So there was a message there you see about the GPU, and another message down lower that the antivirus may be preventing us from getting the best performance. And so there may be things you can do to make your success a higher performance success. Now, currently, I wrote this in a student computer lab. I did not have the permissions to fix any of these problems, so the best I could do is not fix them, but report them to the IT department, which I did.